everybody. Knowing that we're going into the 10th, 11th month of COVID restrictions, and there's a lot of, a lot of stresses on people. I mean, I've been teaching at home, so most of the stress is on my wife, who's also working from home. So I just want to say thank you to the members of this committee, all of the members of the committee, for your dedication, for working through the projects that we have to do. It's there's a lot of things going on in people's lives. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for your dedication and your commitment. Okay, we have the minutes, and any discussion on the minutes from December the 9th? And I can see everybody, but people that are on the phone, just shout out if there's any concerns. So we will, I guess, adopt the minutes, and I'm looking for a mover and seconder for that. Linda and Todd, and anyone opposed? Okay, those are carried. Business arising for the minutes, and it is 4A, and that is Parks and Rec Master Plan Review, and that is Paul.
Thank you, Daniel, and through you, Chair. Before we head on to that, I just want to let everyone know, members of the public, anyone that knows anyone that could be interested, we have the position for the spot on the Parks and Rec committee up on our website as well as the Facebook. So the application form is out there. If anyone's interested, please fill it out. Or if you know anyone, point them to the application form, fill it out, submit it to the township office through the Dropbox or to me through email, if digital is preferred right now, obviously. And we're planning on having that closed by the 28th. And if anyone on the committee feels it's not enough time, we can always extend that.
Is there any questions or comments about that? I don't see any. All right, go ahead, Paul.
Okay, I am going to share my screen here. Let's start from the beginning. So obviously this is a very in-depth master plan. We're not going to go through every single step. So what I thought Abby and myself discuss is we summarize the comments, we summarize the key things that stuck out, and we wanted to present them for you here.
Oh, sorry for interrupting. I can't see people, so I'm just wondering if people have questions, shall we just do this as we're going through it, or should we just wait till the end? And again, I can't see to recognize, and so I don't want to be rude if you got your hand up or something.
Please, if you have any comments or questions, it may be appropriate to deal as we go through it, so we're not backtracking too much at the end. Please just speak out. Don't feel rude. It's how we are going to have to operate right now. Okay.
Thanks, folks.
So the key summaries, it breaks up into 4 categories, and we'll start first with service delivery. So adopting a municipal service delivery role that reflects the guiding principles of the master plan with primary focus on supporting community-led parks and recreation activities through community development approach, and secondary focus on direct facilitation of general programs and community events that promote physical activity and social inclusion. So this is ongoing. Comparatively to when this report was first submitted, our recreation across Lucan Biddulph has noticeably seen a shift and a change. When creating programs, the master plan is referenced, and to make sure that we are focusing on key principles and needs of the township. Some of these needs have also been addressed through economic development, such as Movie in the Park and other events like that, and working with local volunteers to facilitate additional programming beyond recreation, such as we have a very popular new program that's been operating out of our facility, which is STEAM education. It's very popular kids, very important for the new curriculum, and it's popular for kids that may not necessarily be into physical activity, sports, and so forth. Maintaining up-to-date inventory of recreation opportunities within the community, including a database of community groups and their contact information to ensure a full range of activities available for all age groups. This database should be made accessible to local residents and serve to enhance awareness in local activities, programs, leagues, and events. The biannual community guide is appreciated by groups who do not always have the capabilities to search online for services. COVID obviously has made this very difficult to continue, but we will continue it once we return to a normal season. We can't predict in 2 months what programs we're going to offer. So we're trying to have some cost savings by not producing that guide currently at the moment. Important to note that surrounding areas may be worth listing some information on services that we do not provide out here and other surrounding towns. There's also the opportunity to cross promote programs and make sure that we don't create a competition or negative feelings by offering the same programs on the same nights. Similar to how we do like the craft show and that we make sure it's not the same nights as the same communities, because you don't want to hurt the people that are involved in these things and cause negative feelings. We need to update this recommendation to focus on actively engaging new residents to the community events and resources. Previously, it's been mostly focused on residents who are here now. Obviously, we've grown quite a bit. Even since this guide came out, the population of Lucan Badolf is very different. So we need to do something in that community guide to address that. Support and promote physical activity in healthy communities through participation with the Middlesex Active Community Partnership. Excellent on seniors and youth programming. Offerings have grown with this initiative, sharing its best practice. We did some work with early on to promote the Story Walk, the Kindness Rocks, and continued partnership with the Middlesex County is still active. Obviously, they're held back on what they can offer during COVID, but we've been working on some ideas. We've completed the Healthy Kids Initiative through them, and there's other opportunities to programs available besides just the county partnerships to be made note. The Child and Youth Network, Healthy Eating, Healthy Physical Activity Priority. It's based in London, and opportunities to take advantage of Acti Pass, Safe Routes to Schools, Active Transportation. There's also possibilities to get some grant opportunities through these programs. Next step is to undertake program planning in coordination with the community partners in response to local needs, with an emphasis on local low-cost services to promote physical activity and social inclusion in children, youth, and older adults or seniors. Be mindful when we do these programs to what language we use. Instead of before, it would always be called mom and tot skates. We've been careful to make sure and promote that it's parent or guardian and tot, so people don't feel excluded, that they understand that they can take advantage of these services. Youth programming has been offered through the Boys and Girls Club through Kidscape. They surveyed the community and found where there was lacking programs and thought that they could try and address these. It was doing very well, it was very successful. Obviously, since COVID-19, that's gone away. We're hoping that we can reestablish that relationship when we come back to normal. Our basketball, volleyball, and pickleball, there are often hours at night, while hockey and figure skating are on the ice, so some parents take advantage of that. Our toddler sports and youth basketball were very popular programs in the community. Our youth basketball was able to still continue throughout most of this COVID up until gray lockdown, so we're quite happy at that. Daytime programming has been often focused on older adults, as they're up until now have been the ones home during the day. And we offer an adult pass, which encompasses programs while promoting other activities while it's offered. There's not many additional hours for adult and youth programming in the gymnasium. It's heavily booked in the primetime hours. And we're hoping that with phase 2, more room for programming can be offered through other halls. Like I said before, the new STEAM education program was growing quite a bit of popularity. Quite happy about that one. And coordinating and checking with participants regularly to truly supports the sense of community and validates the efforts to meet the needs. So establishing performance measurement criteria. We often have instructor input and surveys through them and through the participants. Any grants that we apply for, they require follow-ups, questionnaires to be completed, and high-five evaluation tools are used with these programs. Feedback and comments and concerns are not always formal. Informal communications with participants is appreciated for a small town sense of community. So just important to note, these aren't all my comments or Abby's, these are comments that have also been provided by the group. So obviously the community events coordinator has been completed. Abby is, we've changed that position to recreation coordinator, and she's been doing quite a great job. Ensure that the maintenance of parks and recreation facilities remains a high priority for the township through continued staff training and the implementation of customer service standards. So the comments are, yes, it's been better than in recent years, or in recent years it's been better, but there's always room for improvement. And construction is easy, maintenance is harder, but it's key to find a good function and satisfaction. Reevaluating staff requirements over time and as changes occur of the scope of the municipality responsibilities. Obviously, in a regular year, there's days where we need more staff, and as the increase in demand has gone up, and there's been lots of opportunities for co-op placements, and that's obviously something we'd like to work for in the future to help with that. So developing a corporate-wide volunteer recognition initiative, we obviously have the Mayor's Honor Roll. It's a new program that's going to be great, and volunteers are often invited to the Mayor's dinner, and they much appreciate that. With the students, obviously, we sign off on their volunteer hours, provide letters for volunteer checks, and sometimes student volunteers positions can often lead to full-time, and well, not full-time employment, but like summer employment for the following year. Good volunteers are always provided with a reference for future careers, and appreciation is key to volunteer satisfaction. In order to increase community participation and improve cost efficiency, encourage appropriate partnership with public, not-for-profit, or private organizations, and provision and delivery of parks and recreation facilities and services. Advertising in the community guide and the signage in the arena have been great for this. Actively seek community and corporate sponsorships to enhance delivery of recreation programs and services. So one comment was that it's not a good idea to actively seek this, and it should be considered a low priority. And then the other thought is that when we do have new opportunities for programs and community events, we often approach local businesses and organizations for opportunities for their involvement. So moving from there, we'll move on to rates and policies. So just as a general comment, as we're looking to implement a new booking software, we feel it's time that we should be addressing some of these at the same time and bring everything up to date. So when we launch a new software, everything will be consistent and modernized. Establish a reciprocal use agreement with the elementary schools in order to promote community usage and active recreation opportunities for both students and residents. So currently, there is a very outdated reciprocal agreement with Wilberforce Public School where they're able to come and utilize our rink for skating. We haven't really had much reciprocated other than advertisement through them for our programs and camps. I believe in the past there was a lot more done with gymnastics and so forth, but I think it's time that we revisit that going forward, as well as reaching out to St. Pat's. It's a good idea, and obviously there's hurdles to overcome with liability. And for a comment on the field, obviously we've approached that subject. There is opportunities that we can utilize the field through the school board, but it has not been ideal for our local sports organizations. The next, development of an ice allocation policy. So these are more common in places where they have multiple pads, because one comment for us is that long-term dedication for Lucan organizations already exists. It is rather informal, but only having one pad does not afford us much additional ice to be allocated. Currently, organizations utilize the bulk of our prime time, as in minor hockey, figure skating, and then the junior Cs. So we don't really have much prime time ice to play with. If we had multiple pads, it's easier for us, and that's larger places. That's kind of what they do. Their nicer, newer arena gets the allocation for the preferred time, but it is something to look into in the future. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on.
All right.
Establish consistent data collection protocols and tracking mechanisms and monitor facility utilization to assist in identifying trends, changing demands, and allocation. Collect annual registration data from all organizations that make regular use of township parks and facilities. So at the beginning of each season, staff meets with user groups and discusses enrollment to make sure that the township is capable of meeting each user group's needs And if actions are needed, as if we're not able to, such as soccer fields, it's then to be brought to council to address their increase in service delivery. One comment was that we should respect the origins and agreements of clubs and consider the efforts into fundraising, labor, and volunteer work they've put into maintaining facilities, amenities, and the initiation of projects by groups when making decisions. There are many community contributors. And I think that attests to, you know, when we were a smaller municipality, smaller town, when we were the village of Lucan or we were Badolf, there was a lot of community-led projects, and that should not be forgotten about when we're making decisions. There's a lot of old understood agreements. Regularly assessing rates and fees. This is something that we do yearly, and it's brought before council and reflected in our rates bylaw. Generally, we try to at least do inflation. Obviously, this year it's proposed with the COVID-19 that there may be a freeze, as there's a lot of people that had bookings in 2020 that are hoping to reutilize that same booking in 2021, and it just for administrative purposes, and you know, they booked it in 2020. They didn't choose to push it to 2021. You know, it's not really fair to have them suddenly having to pay more. Development of a biannual community guide. The comments have been that this has been excellent and has been complete reference for the township services. Well done, and it feels it's very important to still keep this versus strictly online. And I think it's very reflective of our community. There's quite a few people in our community that do not have technology or access to online, and being able to provide that for them has been excellent. Provide opportunities to facilitate dialogue between groups and residents through an annual forum. So the comments are that this is excellent and are unaware of an annual forum, but the township employees are always available, and township has open door policy for inquiries. Key component to encourage buy-in and donation support for projects, encourages trust in decisions. Now, it's to be noted, we did hold an open house. It was not well attended. I think there was some confusion about volunteer sign up or what the open house was about. And we are hoping to do one again, just once we return back to normal. And it might be a good event to hold once we do, so people are aware of now what we are able to offer them. So we'll go on to the next section, which covers amenities. There's several things under this section that obviously, as a committee, we have talked about time and time again. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on them. Obviously, we know the Granton Skate Park is complete, brand new. People love it. They get people from all over coming out to it. Phase 2 of the arena, we know that's ongoing, as well as soccer fields. So undertake a topic-specific study and public engagement process to explore options for the creation and management of a hub for older adults and activities. Right now, we have the dedicated space for programming, the Lions Active Living Center. There were plans for far more programming than we did already offer, more leisure programs, not solely focused on fitness. However, the day that they were about to launch, I think was a week after the first COVID-19 shutdown. So those obviously have been put off, and Abby and myself are looking forward to when we come back to this, we can get those programs going again. Work with the Lucan Soccer Association to establish turf maintenance standards and practices. So to comment on this, previously staff has mostly focused on facility maintenance and ice rink maintenance. It's always been the priority, but as our duties have changed and our responsibilities have changed, we've been shifting their professional development to focus on outdoor amenities and field maintenance. So we had some training set up for that. Obviously, once again, COVID-19 reared its head and those were canceled, but there were hopefully that the ORFA is going to be offering some online courses. They have not had that opportunity yet. There's obviously a lot with that they can't do. Yes, Daniel.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask 2 questions if I could, just things to think about so just going forward with the master plan. The first thing is that I have to go back a couple of pages, sorry. So that volunteer recognition initiative, maybe giving some thought, this is just for the group, giving some thought to make maybe a more sort of a regular way to sort of celebrate volunteers. Volunteers are kind of like the heart of our community. There's a lot of people do a lot of work. This committee's, part of that example. So I'm just wondering, if you don't have to answer that right now, Paul, I'm not putting you on the spot. So are we thinking about maybe increasing the number of times we recognize volunteers? And the other one too, that when you're just talking about programs heading back. So like in the future, should we be looking at, or have we looked at what the demographics are going to look like in 3 to 5 years in Luke and Biddulph with respect to what types of programs that we're going to offer? I don't know if that's something we should also, or if that's already included, but that's something that I thought might be important, and I guess the group can jump in. But if we're thinking about the next 4 or 5 years, or what are we going to look like? What's our breakdown? What are our demographics? And do we have enough staff for, if we have 40% of our population is over 65, I don't know, how's that going to look? So that's, I think, something we might want to look at. I don't know how everybody else feels.
I think the demographic has changed quite a bit since the plan was first put out. I think keeping aware of the statistics and the census is good. Surveys, obviously, I know Abby and myself have discussed at length that we would really like to increase our survey participations with public input, especially for that, because our demographic has changed so much and the needs have changed, and it just helps us. It's a good tool for us. So definitely that's something to consider. I know volunteerism is also a key to the master plan of the township. So I would agree that would be a good thing to focus on if we can find more ways to recognize.
Okay, thanks, group. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
It's Peter Sardner. On the volunteer side, isn't that we always need to ensure that we thank our volunteers and appreciate them, but is it also that we need to get more volunteers engaged? That was part of it, because I've had in the last pre-lockdown, in the last month or so, 3 neighbors that are new. They're in lockdown. They've got time. They wouldn't mind volunteering. It's just don't know what's available, don't know how to get involved. So I think especially during COVID, if volunteering is a focus for this year for the Parks and Rec Committee volunteering, then maybe we get a strategy on that and see if we can do something more online. I think our neighborhood, I'm not a Facebook guy, but our neighborhood has a neighborhood Facebook group that communicates with each other. So there may be more of those in the area, having local captains to assist in getting more volunteers engaged. But maybe a strategy around volunteering, if that's a primary focus for this year for us.
Yep, good point.
Yeah, it is difficult because with COVID, there's a lot more people with time who would like to do things, but there's also less things for them to do, unfortunately. But absolutely, I think that's good. And I know, with online groups, often if you get volunteers, they can become self-led, like our dog park group, for instance. We don't really have to spend a lot of time with that, but it becomes a good group. They make activities for themselves. They organize meets, and it helps them form community. So I 100% agree. We should look at something. Any other comments before I move on?
Yep. Looks like Linda has a comment, Mr. Chair.
Linda, go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't see.
When it comes to volunteers, one thing that I've noticed over the years, it's one thing, and I think Paul's made a good point. Right now is a tough time. People may have time to do it, but there's not much to do. And that's a real problem. People have to be welcomed as volunteers, but they also have to fairly quickly and in an organized way be given a task to do so that they can see that their efforts have a purpose and that they have a value to what they're doing. Because it's not just about showing up to a meeting and warming a seat. It's about feeling like you're actually accomplishing something and doing something. So it requires being quite organized in order to welcome them, orient them, and make use of them right away, as well as appreciate them.
Thank you, Linda.
Oh, and if I could follow up on Linda's, exactly to her point, one of the residents made a comment that they've got experience in the granting area for chasing down grants and helping structure granting proposals. So if our staff are focused on seniors and just, they said, pick one category, they can help set up a committee to help the staff if they're too busy in other areas, or help them set up a process, chase down more grants so we can get funding. So that if that's a goal, that staff maybe look at things they have that today that they can maybe have somebody with expertise come in and help in those areas if that's required. Then I agree with Linda. If you got a focus and a goal and a team and a time frame, you're in for a year. Let's see what we can do and see what the goals are. But yeah, that's good.
Thank you, Councillor.
Linda, do you have more? Thought I heard you.
Linda, is there more you need? Sorry, I didn't mean to take the floor away. Do you want to add anything?
Oh, you're muted now, Linda.
Am I okay now?
There you go.
You gotcha. Yeah,
Okay.
excellent.
Okay. I think we were crossing each other's paths there on muting. I agree with Peter. A very valuable person is someone who's experienced with seeking grants and writing grants that can take up a lot of time for staff. I'm sure that Lisa and Paul would agree that grant writing and researching them and everything takes so much time. So if you have someone who's skilled at doing that, man, they would be a very valuable volunteer. Find this person quick.
Yes.
They've already offered if we have a spot for them.
Say yes.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Any other comments?
No, seeing it. I've opened my screen more, Daniel, so I can see if there's any more. So moving on, with public input, consider removal of one ball diamond either from Lions Market Street Park or Elm Street Park should a more pressing community supported need arise. So one comment is this should be low priority because it's better to first add resources to new parks than take resources away from existing parks. Or at the same time, the other comment is that it would be appropriate to usage of these fields as both outfields are rough and wet. So if they're not getting much use, maybe it is time to find a new use.
Okay.
Continue to implement a program for regular playground replacement, upgrades, and installation. It's felt that this is done well, and awareness by monitoring is much better than surprise. And that way you can make financial planning possible. Maintain the local pool, the Lucan pool, as long as it is deemed financially feasible until such a point where major capital replacements can no longer be deferred. A major redevelopment or replacement is not recommended. So the one comment is to understand that this in the master plan, the pool is recognized as a community priority. So this seems to be a conflict with this actual recommendation itself. And we should be looking at planning at the long-term future as of this community resource. Let's not have another soccer field emergency. But on that note too, I've been advised I should probably go check out the Dorchester pool. Apparently they did a nice reconfiguration similar to our setup, and it's quite nice. Didn't cost very much money, so I'm planning as soon as I can go out there that I'm going to be making a meeting out there just to kind of go over what they did. Install a curvilinear hardscape pathway in replacement of the track of the LCMC park. The comments are that this track is heavily utilized right now, and if this is on the agenda, we need to look at creating a new pathway before removing the track. And I agree. I think since this report was done, I do know when this report was first done, the track was not used very much. I mean, part of the Canada 150 money I believe we put a lot of work into kind of bringing it back to a safer track to utilize. So it gets quite a bit of usage, and some of the local fitness groups have actually donated exercise equipment around it because they like the idea of incorporating that into their exercise. Utilize the master plan's parkland classification hierarchy to guide the development of redevelopment of parks and open spaces according to the park type. The comment said this is ongoing, and as a comment, we should focus more on new park areas and less on Market Street and Elm Street. I think now that we're assuming more, I think that is going to be part of the plan. Maintain a committed and accessible safety and comfort within the township park system through compliance with AODA. So AODA is taken in consideration for all new amenities and facilities, and it's felt that we're doing pretty good at this. Initiate tree planting programs to work with local conservation authorities and community groups. It's felt that we're doing well at this as well, and that there's options for Scouts and Trees for Canada. There has been a proposal for a Lucan Community Forest in partnership with the ABCA to offer opportunity to schools, scout and guiding, plantings, and education. It could also provide a self-sustaining tree nursery to relocate more developed trees to existing public parks and green spaces. So that way we're not putting in basically more susceptible trees that could get damaged into parks. Establish a consistent signage design template and install signs at all parks, recreation facilities, and trailheads, as well as directional signage near major intersections. So the parks is going to work with economic development and public works to ensure consistency township-wide. I know Lisa's done a great job with economic development on her Main Street signs for direction, and we like to reach out to her, and we talk to Jeff whenever we're putting up new signs to try and make sure we're consistent. One thing that's been great countywide during COVID-19 is we've been meeting as a county and trying to have consistency in our signage, because as you know, people aren't just coming to play hockey in Lucan, they're going to play hockey in Ilderton, they're all over the place. So we try and make sure we're consistent.
Paul, sorry to interrupt. Could you go to the next slide? I think you're.
Oh, I moved on ahead of you, sorry.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Consistency identifies the agency in charge and who to contact if you have any concerns, and signage is important to show credit where credit is due. And I think that's in reference to dedication signs. If the Optimists or the Lions help finance a project, or the Granton Park Committee, that there should be proper recognition. So for the next one, under trails, we've put this all summarized in one because this is a. Sorry, Daniel, I see you had a question. No, I'm good. No, I'm fine. Sorry.
I've put this all as one group because there's quite a lot of comments in the master plan in reference to trails. Obviously, right now it's felt that this is poor. This needs to be more developed, and people are walking on the street for exercise. So the thing with trails is they are a long-term project, and they are a high priority issue to address. Small discussions have started to happen between our staff and the ABCA towards trail development. What our next steps are, what their experiences have been, what they know about AODA and trails, because obviously it's not realistic for a place like Lucan Biddulph to have an asphalt path that's miles long. So we try and find ways that we can be AODA with keeping costs down. So the next step on that one, I believe, is that we need to formalize a trail committee, whether that's a subcommittee of the Parks and Rec Committee or a completely different committee that also offers up what they're thinking about trails to the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee and Council. It's important to know that trails should be considered for walking, running, and cycling. And there's opportunity that we can build hiking into day camp events. It has been noted too with the ABCA that if we did do trails, part of their thoughts is that education is a key component. So if we can do something where we can tie the public school near to a trail system so they could utilize it for education, it would be very beneficial for us. So moving on to funding and review. Use the Parks and Recreation Master Plan as a resource in developing Lucan Biddulph's long-term capital forecast. So
Could
our
you-
asset
Paul,
management,
sorry, Paul, could you just go to the next?
Oh.
It's okay. Thank you.
can't do these twice. Okay. So the asset management plan addresses our capital projects for replacement, and new projects are determined and assessed based on community needs. The master plan is used in reference to decision-making on all these capital items. So whenever we have a capital item brought forward to council, we make sure to address the points in the Parks and Rec master plan as well as the asset management plan. Ensure that the township council is fully aware of operating cost implications when deciding on the approval of capital projects. Many projects are buildable, but are killers to operate. It is crucial to forecast this cost over time to see if it is manageable. So obviously, that's an important thing to look at if we have new amenities and new projects come up that we haven't had experience operating before. Continue to seek alternate funding sources. So we have a representative from the Community Culture and Ministry of Tourism. They periodically check in with us and make us aware of new grant opportunities as well as advice. As well as any projects that staff looks into. We actively take a role in making sure that there aren't grant opportunities that we could miss when putting projects forward. Establish a reserve fund specific to making parks and recreation infrastructure projects with consistent annual contributions through the township budget process, using a 2% facility replacement target as a benchmark. This is something obviously we will always need, is the one comment, and reserves for various projects are kept and added to yearly if there are surpluses at the end of the year. So anytime we have extra surplus, we like to put it into reserve funds if we can. Full review of the Parks and Rec master plan is recommended for the year 2025, and it's the one comment is that we should be planning for this cost of a consultant in advance.
Okay. All right, do we have, was there anything further, Paul? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That is it. I know it's a little dry and a lot of information to take in. I'd be happy to forward on this presentation to everyone as well, just so they have that.
Okay, that would be an idea. Does anyone have any questions, comments for Paul on this report? Again, I can't see everybody, so.
Keith has one.
Keith, sorry, I just can't, can we go back to the screen so I can see everybody, Lisa?
I just want to make a comment on the trails.
Yeah.
Just to say, like, the one, I know going back before Granton got their trail going, it was like, I thought they were crazy that they were making it or whatever, but it actually works. There's a lot of people that walk it, and then trying to think, I was just, as you were talking about the trails, I was trying to think with Luke, and yeah, it does kind of, it's a bummer that a lot of people have to walk the streets, especially when I come in from Granton and go down towards Hansberry, I think it is, right? There's always people walking on the side. It's just too bad that they didn't have something, but again, when you said another committee for that, it's like, holy crap. But I just wanted to say, like our trail here, like there's a lot of people. It'd be nice if it was longer too, but I think people do like 2 or 3 laps a night or whatever days. But I think the trails are a good idea, but they're never incorporated in with the building. So
it's important. Trails are very important for the community, and they can bring in people from out of the community. Like how many people go to Morrison Dam?
yeah,
right. Like it's fantastic for families. It's great for exercise, and they utilize it. They put the story walks along there. They can be great for your community.
it's just weird how it's something that's overlooked, right? When we do a development in a subdivision and we forget about that, people need to exercise or whatever and want enjoyment, but especially right now, because everybody would love to do that, right? Probably now, but yeah, I just want to make that comment, like saying that this trail here, it's it's well used anyway. So
yeah,
I can tell you, Keith, when there's discussions about new subdivisions, that always gets brought up about park space and trail. I can guarantee you it gets brought. I guarantee you it gets brought up. Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, it's important to note parkland dedication and green spaces. It's one of the things that, at part of the public process at the public meetings for planning always gets brought up, and council always makes sure to address this as well.
Okay. Is there any further questions or comments for Paul on that item? At this time, Paul, you are going to send this to people and they can comment to you directly if there's anything else that comes up. Yeah, so I'm just asking if there's, I don't want to move on until I've made sure everybody's had an opportunity. And
Dan, Peter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
One of the residents that had looked at some of this stuff mentioned that it seems like it is a lot of programs, projects to be done, right, for the number of staff and so forth. So when we go through it, if maybe the thought is if we each look at maybe what priorities we see or what the staff see from that listing for the next year, even if there's some things we could knock off the list, especially during this pandemic period, maybe some good projects we can take a hold of and complete and then target members of subcommittees for those specific projects as well.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Peter. Anything else, folks? Okay, so I'm seeing nothing. Thank you, Paul. We're going to move to 4B, tennis court, skate park relocation. And that's Paul again.
Okay, let's see if I can. So that's not just me. We should all, everyone, if you have any comments that, because I didn't get comments from everyone. If you have any comments, please feel free. Right now is a good time to discuss this. So we looked, I sent out to all of you the different parks in Lucan Badolf, and we went through pros and cons. So let's begin with Elm Street. So the pros, that it's a central location for a skate park. You can walk and bike to the area. The area itself aims to younger children and teen activity. Skate park in the area west of the basketball court could be a good idea. It has good parking. Elm Street Park on the side of the creek where the ball diamond is would be a good spot. Centrally located for a large population of residents, easy pedestrian access, and has washroom facilities. Some of the cons to this are if and only if minor baseball is saying that the diamond is not in their future plans, should we consider removing the diamond? There probably would be some pushback from neighbors since this all backs onto their houses. And so obviously public process would be needed. And the park has many resources already and it's becoming crowded. There could be noise complaints from residents. Any other comments while we're on Elm Street Park?
Okay. I think it's, there we go.
Okay. So we'll move on to Old Clover Park. This is the park that is located behind Clark's on Spencer. The pros are a tennis court here would be good. It has a lot of open space, so it's not needing repurposing. So there's extra cost to removing items. Tennis does not require many parking spaces. It's quieter and it's a quieter activity for a high resident area. In a tennis court would fit well with small picnic shelter and kids play equipment. There's lots of unused space for both tennis and skate park. It's located inside a growing subdivision, good population base that has no neighborhood recreational resources. It's underserviced at this point.
Yeah.
We did just assume it, however, so that is partly the reason for that. A good pro is that it's highly visible from the street as a vandalism deterrent. The cons are there's lots of young kids in the area and they may like the skate park close. Parking and no washrooms or water.
Paul, I have a question. Do you know just offhand again, just what it costs to put a washroom and water in there? Do we have an idea? Again, if you don't know right now, that's okay.
I don't know offhand. I don't imagine it'd be cheap. And obviously now that the service is already put in, the roads are already paved, it's not the best time to rip them back up and do that. But
no. All right. Okay, thank you.
Paul?
There's a question there?
Yeah. Daniel, I just have a quick question.
yes, Keith.
Yes.
Why are we concerned on why we need washrooms and water on where the tennis courts are?
I'm not sure. That was just one of the comments.
Right? Like the Grand Park has no washrooms. There's tennis courts there, right? Unless you have the outhouse in the summertime. But yeah, I just don't understand why that's a. I was just curious.
I think that may have just been a con versus some of the other parks that are.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Keith.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, moving on. Market Street Park, a pro is that it's a good park for gathering groups, family picnics, and youth groups from Hall. The summer movies are done here. There's the music, band shell question mark would be a good addition given the proximity to the seniors apartments. Parking, centrally located for pedestrian access and has washroom water facilities. The cons are courts or skate park added here will affect ball field. Keeping ball field here keeps central location with good parking. No space, overcrowded park, school area nearby, neighborhood is over-serviced, and noise complaints.
Question?
Yes, Keith?
Yes, sir. Keith, go
Okay,
ahead.
just on the cons, would another con for this one would be, I was just thinking for the pavilion, not the pavilion, but where the scouts and that go, do they do activities outside?
They do activities outside.
That would that interfere into a space there? I'm just
No.
thinking for what whoever rents that building or whatever, because there is not a lot of space on that one side.
No,
No, there's not.
I was just thinking.
no, good. Thank you for that. Thanks, Keith. Good thought.
Any more questions or comments before I move on?
Okay.
Linda has one. Speak up if you have a question, Linda, because
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, folks. I can't see anybody except for Paul, so we'll just have to help each other, please.
Oh, you muted yourself, Linda. You're on mute, Linda.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Excellent.
On just that observation about the scouting and guiding activities, again, COVID has affected them greatly as well. But normally they do, one of the reasons why it was chosen to build there was because of the opportunity for open space for scouting and guiding activities when they're present. So it is definitely a grass space that they have used traditionally over time.
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Linda.
Yes, I believe currently right now they're not allowed through scout and guiding to go inside, are they, Linda?
No, they have to have outside meetings.
Yeah.
So they definitely are doing outside stuff.
Survival skills. Okay, well, moving on. That brings us to the community center grounds. It's a centralized activity area. A skate park move to the northwest end of track past the ball fields could be a possibility. Central hub for the community. Lots of people visit the grounds. It's got parking and washrooms. Cons are that need for more soccer space. Adding additional land may be better served for soccer. Very busy, both vehicle traffic and programming. Already servicing ice rink, ball diamonds, pools, soccer fields, playground, running track, as well as community garden and dog park areas. Not located close to population, no neighborhood. So it's not as easy for kids to get to, I guess. Any comments or questions on that?
I don't see any. Nope.
So I guess going from there,
yeah,
as a group, is there a feeling by viewing that, you know, to me, looking at that, it sounds like if we were to go an area, it sounds like it's more in favor of skate park, Elm Street, tennis court in Old Clover Village. Is that kind of the feeling of the group? Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, so you're breaking up to two. So yes, yeah, because that one spot's totally underutilized. There's nothing there at all. I just wonder what would be the least. I guess we're thinking about the neighborhood and the residents in the neighborhood. I'm thinking that to me that would probably. I'm just starting the conversation off, but to me that would be sort of the best scenario, I think. But I'm waiting to hear from you guys.
I think an important step would be wherever we think might be a good idea, there's definitely going to need to be a public process on this one, because you are going into neighborhoods, you're going into people's backyards, you're going next door to their houses. So there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of things to say. So There is that.
All right, I just want to, Wayne, I think I saw something from you just saying you think that's a good idea? I just want to make sure, I don't want to.
Yes, he says yes for both for me.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you. All right.
Now,
Comment.
one question I have, it's Peter.
Yes.
I was looking for, and I sent this along to the chair and Paul. It was what London's doing, looking to do a project with pickleball and other services. And part of that was saying pickleball is actually catching on more with the youth, surprisingly. So I'm wondering, not to throw a wrench in things, is the skateboard park, or, how was that listed somewhere as a priority versus other avenues and changes, or how was that ranked, or how did we come about? And just some background, so I apologize, you guys probably already said this, but should we be putting money into a skateboard park, or are the youth changing their direction and what they're using in communities as different pickleball, other events are coming forward anyways?
Paul, go ahead, please.
If I may, simply for those amenities being looked at, it's simply because of the fact that they're there already and we're removing them. And it's always, it's never nice when things are removed that they already had. I know the skate park in Lucan was a huge community project to get that. So it's, I think there's pretty emotional feelings about losing it completely. I know when it comes to tennis courts, part of the public survey I would propose is that we actually, poll people to see what's tennis, pickleball, tennis and pickleball, because that's already been brought up by our pickleball group. They would like us to look at outdoor pickleball when we go to look at this tennis court removal. Some places in London, what they'll do is they'll have a tennis court and you can actually play 2 games of pickleball the other way. In fact, I believe, you're right. People are very serious about pickleball. It's gaining in popularity. I just found out this morning, currently Middlesex Center, they are still snow plowing off their court and playing outdoors. So pickleball is definitely popular.
Okay.
So would you do a survey then again, or no, on the needs of?
I think if we suggest a place for the new amenity, part of that public process to, discussing people's feelings on where it might go is, the thoughts on adding pickleball to the tennis court and what that may look like. Like the public may want several pickleball courts. They may just want one court that could be 2 pickleball courts across it. I think that'd be part of the public process for sure.
And I meant the skateboard park as well. Is that a definite 100% because it was there, we're replacing it, or is there, not saying we don't do it, but is there community input around that as well, or what's the typical process? Just so
since I've been here, we haven't removed an amenity and put it somewhere else. So I would assume that part of the public process, I would want people's input, because you may have 90 out of 100 say we don't want a skate park, and then that would be part of the consideration for council for sure.
Well, thank you, Paul.
All right. Thanks.
If I could comment, it's Colin.
Yes,
first of all, just thank Lisa for letting me back in several times. I'm having poor cell reception, but I was just going to say, Old Clover, to the best of my knowledge, is currently not accessible by a sidewalk at all. So I think that keeping the skate park sort of more central, like you're discussing, is a good plan. And just from being in the area, I can tell you from spending some time at the community center that there's almost always someone at the skate park, not as much at the tennis court. It's underutilized for sure. So I think that I think you're on the right track there for sure. And I just wanted to make the mention about the sidewalks, because these are kids, and I mean, I think adults are the most people who are playing tennis, and they can drive. They can drive to Old Clover, no problem. But we don't want kids trying to get to Old Clover currently without any sidewalks to service it.
Right. Thank you. Good point. Thank you, Colin.
Very good point. And I think the skate park too. I can say through the COVID shutdowns, it's actually, you've seen the increase in its usage. That's been great.
Okay. Is there any other further questions or comments on this? And I don't want to get too ahead of myself. So are you going, Paul, will you be coming to council with recommendation from this, or?
I think at this
Where do we
point,
go from here?
it's good to know the opinion of the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. I mean, until it becomes a reality as a capital project, because a lot of that weighs on phase 2, obviously. But that would be part of the presentation for when it becomes a capital project.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right.
Can you just reconfirm what the recommendation is? Sorry.
I believe right now the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee would recommend that the tennis court be put in Old Clover Village Park and that the skate park be put in Elm Street Park.
Is that, do we have a consensus from the group, or is there any other comments or questions? So Linda's good. Anything else? No. Okay. Yeah, Todd. I think.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say is just to refute Colin a little bit, and I'm sorry, Mr. Haskett, but the Cloverfield Park the area there, that there are kids in that subdivision as well. Not all the kids are located around the community center. Certainly, there's a population and a growing subdivision there. So I think that's something that should also be considered, that those kids need to cross over busy roads to get over to the parks that are across town. So I'm not sure that that's a fair comment to make for rationalizing the skateboard in that park, although I don't disagree with that, the location being there. The other thing I wanted to mention, and Paul, I think you're right on track on this, is the fact that the tennis court, it can have multiple uses. A basketball court, it could be a tennis court, it can be a pickleball court. The way that the tennis court is next to the community center is it's a little prohibitive. So certainly the design, having the community input on expanding the design so that we can incorporate various sports there is, I think, a very good idea.
Thank you. I'm sure Keith can attest to that. There's a basketball tennis court across from his house.
Perfect.
Gets quite a lot of use.
Just a comment though, like I know if we start discussing on like kids crossing roads and stuff like that, I look at it a little differently, because when you think in the city, right, you're only in a subdivision, you could be a tennis court. I think I'm just picturing sort of in the north because we play ball in that area, but kids still have to travel across, I guess. But then even here, if you're looking at people coming here, like Colin's right, like most adults play on a tennis courts here, right? Not very often you see too many kids, but yeah, I don't know. I think we have to, I don't know. I just think you have to look past the box of like kids crossing streets, because, they got to be taught, they're taught to go to school. I don't know how the schooling system works, and looking for kids walking from Main Street over. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying towards Wilberforce. I don't know.
Okay. Nope. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Okay. Further questions, comments? We can. Okay. We're good then, Paul. Okay. Okay. I would like to move forward to new business. Item 5A, and that's the Market Street Park grant opportunity. Lisa, please.
Hello.
Hello, Lisa.
Here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of pass this by the committee, give a little information to kind of what some of the things that we're planning on doing, and get some feedback. So the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture and Food, and it keeps going on after that, but that's enough, has a grant program. It's called RED, so Rural Economic Development Fund. And it's an annual fund, and they have different streams that we can apply for. Last year, we applied for murals for downtown stuff. So beautification, signs, mural. And then there's a big piece of artwork that's forthcoming from Murals and Metal. They're just currently working on that. So you'll see that kind of come up in the next, hopefully, month. It'll be finished up. So the next application is due Friday, or February 1st, sorry. And we came to council with kind of a couple options that we could do. One option was to create this I would say if you can think of, if everyone's seen the little kind of, not the little, but the band shell in Grand Bend down by the beach, something like that, much smaller scale, because that one costs like $250,000. So a much smaller scale, something that we could have little, you know, in the summertime, hopefully at one point we'll be able to have some things going on in the park, some community events. You start thinking about how next year when we do, hopefully lighting the lights with the Lions Club, having a little winter theme stuff going on. And that kind of just a little structure, kind of not sure where, but initial thoughts were kind of at the corner of Beach and Market, kind of at that nice little entrance way there. I'm kind of creating a little structure there that we could use for small events. Nothing like Bacon Fest, don't worry. Like it's more of a community kind of, you know, when we have movie nights in the park and all those sort of things. So much more small scale, nothing late at night or anything like that. So we're thinking of putting a grant in for that. And then just add in some Christmas decorations to that as well. We'll kind of pool it all together. The other part is if council wasn't in favor of that, we would just go back to more downtown grants, different things that we could do, more artwork and those sort of things. So we just kind of want to bring it forward to the committee so they kind of see the vision, kind of what we're looking at, and you know, just to kind of give a general kind of say, yeah, I think that's a great idea or not a good idea. I don't know if anyone wants to, does anyone want to see kind of the
Yeah, do you have
structure?
that picture? Do you have that picture you
Yeah,
sent me?
it's
Yeah.
you know, in my head, that's maybe not what it's going to look like, but it's just kind of, it's something to kind of start.
I think the members would be interested.
Something like this, right? So you would have a little bit of, let's say if you had music, they would be under here. It just kind of is a little focal point.
A gathering place.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So something in like that. So yeah, so that's kind of what we wanted to just kind of update the committee on, kind of our thoughts, and that might be a nice little piece if we can get grant money to. We're already kind of thinking of ways we can start revitalization of that park community wise. So it kind of would be a nice little piece, I think, in that part there. So
Okay.
just some general feedback, I think. Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, go ahead. So comments, questions for Lisa? I have one, but you guys can go first.
The grant we're putting in for is it'll be between like 25 and 26,000. OMAFRA would cover 30% of that. And then we're hoping that, you know, when the time comes, maybe there's some sponsorship opportunities or some partnerships to kind of help with cost or those sort of things as well. Mm-hmm.
Do we have a total cost now? Just asking.
No. I have a couple estimates going, because you know it's hard to know at this point what it might cost. And so the grant, you basically say, this is how much I think it's going to cost, and then once we get it, we kind of work the numbers from that.
I was going to just say anything that promotes, you know, community gathering and community is, I mean, I would be supportive, but I just think it's a good idea to do that. It dresses it up and it just it's a focal point, I think. Mm-hmm. So we can have events. I mean, I was going to say Shakespeare in the Park, but I don't know how many of you would have.
Oh, absolutely.
Todd?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about Shakespeare, but I agree with what you're saying. A question, Lisa, were you going to be extending electrical down there to have that electrical access for that pavilion?
I think when Paul and I talked after the lighting of the lights, and we're standing there, as much as I think all of us were afterwards, going, oh, we could do this, we could do that. And both Paul and I kind of looked at that corner and said, you know, because of the beautiful trees right there in that corner too, we thought, oh, it'd be perfect to light those up next year. And so I think there would be definitely an opportunity probably to bring some hydro down in there. I think if we built it, we would put hydro there. That would be the thinking.
Corner from our place.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Lisa, Peter, or is there somebody else?
No, don't go ahead, Councillor. No.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Is there something you can share about the RED program, so we know maybe for next year in Parks and Rec, if the committee, or if that's part of our role, I'm not sure. If we see things that, hey, this might fit for next year for our Parks and Rec, where we can get funding, or as committee members, or is that this? I don't want to jump onto the staff side either. Yeah, so If this is something that Parks and Rec can help on, let us know what the criteria on. If it's off limits, that's fine too. If we're planning for Granton or somewhere, Granton needs something next year, and they say, hey, would that red grant fit for us? Then maybe there's opportunities that way. But I agree with ensuring we keep the community a neighborhood event, attracting people to go out and socialize after all the vaccines are back in everybody's arms.
Yeah, so the red grant this year did change a bit. So I do find it tends to, their streams do change a bit. This putting that sort of a whatever you want to call that, pavilion or band shell, that, you know, I think we're gonna work some magic with our wording on it. But it's you know, it's definitely for those sort of if you need to fix up a park or a pavilion or those sort of things. So that does fit with that, but you know, the other things are a little more strict on some of the programs. But we'll see next year. Every year it's a little bit different.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Councillor. Was there any questions or any other questions or comments people would like to jump in? Lisa, what would you require from us today to go forward?
Nothing. We just kind of wanted to bring it to the committee for, you know, general information, and we want to make sure we're not offside in some of the vision of the group.
Right.
And then it just goes forward back to council for approval on next week.
Colin.
Okay, Colin. Sorry, I think I see you there.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I just wanted to say I think it's a great idea. It's certainly outside the box of some of the other things that we've done, and I applaud you for that. And I remember when the one in Grand Bend was being built, I was thinking, you know, when is this thing going to get used? And surprised, it gets used all the time, and it's just a great way to have people together and display some local talent if there's such a thing. And I think it's a great idea. I guess one thing I would ask about the grants, this is maybe a much bigger question, but the community of Nairn with their outside rink has become a bit of a hot spot. I think there's like a van of kids going there in their clusters between homeschooling through the week. And I guess I would wonder, do you think there would be any opportunity for a grant to maybe convert the pavilion in Market Street to be a rink or one of the other pavilions that we might have, like with some cooling and everything else?
Paul, please.
You want me to get down, Lisa?
Go ahead.
So this has been some of the conversation that Lisa and myself have talked about when talking about the vision of what that park could be. There's definitely, you know, if it became more of a centralized park for the community and you could have events and that definitely working towards some sort of outdoor skating rink might just add to that, especially it can add to your, even just having a concrete pad there adds to what you can do utilizing that space.
Sorry, Lisa, did you, I went to Paul first, I guess. Did you have anything to add to that?
No, that's good. No, not for now. Thanks. Ian.
Okay. Any further questions, comments, ideas for Lisa on this item? Yes, Linda.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay. That park, I think, has proven to be a good central park for that kind of gathering. I sort of envision, even when there's been Bacon Fest, it's been where the kids area has been and that sort of thing. So, and people who do beyond scouting and guiding, the people that sometimes use the hall are there for family events. They'll need a larger space to have a shower or a 50th anniversary or something like that, and have had it in there. Family picnics in the big pavilion and stuff like that. So it has that what's the word I'm looking for? Ambiance already, that it's the gathering spot, the family gathering spot. So I think this concept, I think, really kind of fits with that particular park.
Yeah, if I made to it, because at Elm Street, I know that every time, it's just, you know, from May till September, there's always people there having picnics or having birthday parties, those celebrations, those kinds of things. So I figured this is all going to be over by April, so we need to get ready for that. So yeah. So.
Okay, Mr. Trump. April? That's what he said last year.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's move on before, any other questions or comments for Lisa on 5A? No. All right, so we can move to 5B, gray, lockdown and future planning. Paul and Abby.
I will just go first. Just obviously gray lockdown, now stay at home order. Clearly things get pushed back further and further. What we can do, outdoor gatherings they're discussing 5 now. I know there's been some discussion with outdoor rinks. Is it a gathering of 5? Is it not? Team sports not allowed to be played, even at outdoor rinks now. It's all going back to where it was last March. So, we're just keeping an eye on it. We're maintaining as best we can. Currently, just to mitigate some of that, we've brought the temperature of the ice up to 25 degrees with a 3-degree differential. And that makes it so even on the warmer weeks, we're only running 3 hours a day. I had to check with the log for this last week, but I'm sure it wasn't running even that. I know Southwest was only running 2 hours a day. So, we're trying to mitigate that to not remove the ice yet. It's still cold outside. It doesn't cost us as much to keep it in. It's kind of difficult to take it out this time of year. So our hope is, once this extra 28 days is done, does that mean we come back to red? Do we go back to gray? We're unsure on that, but myself and I know our hockey association is very optimistic that we'll still be able to come back for some amount of time. I have proposed to them that, if that's the case, say we come back, say it's March, I wouldn't be opposed with, supporting the idea to go into April, March, April. So then at least, we've gotten 10.5 weeks out of this last round, and it would be nice to go at least 8 more weeks. Now, there is a very much what if. They've sent out a survey. I know some of you hockey parents have already received it, just to kind of see what people's thoughts are on that, because obviously, if they don't have the people backing them and they can't rent the ice, and it won't be financially viable. But right now we're at a point where we're just kind of waiting and seeing. We're trying not to jump to any decision on that yet, but we're definitely having those conversations.
Thank you.
Any
questions or comments for Paul? Keith, yes, Keith.
So Paul, is it how much does it cost to keep that ice? I know you're not making any on it. Does it cost quite a bit to run right now, or when you say that the temperature difference there, is it costing quite a bit for us?
It does not. It's so only running 3 hours a day is not very much.
Okay.
Also, Happy Discovery, this new chiller we put in, it's actually saving us quite a bit on hydro. It's far more efficient.
That's good.
So, we're not sitting in a bad place. And this is what the other communities in the county are doing right now. There's a lot of places further up north that they're just pulling the plug today. I know some places in the county that have multiple arenas, they've removed the ice in some of their arenas or planning on doing that and consolidating them all to one. If we come back and we're able to go, I'm sure our community would be quite happy. But there is certain, realities to think about and look at when it comes to that, especially as we get further on, way out of the colder months.
Because also when you were saying the comment about going into April, and I know that's your discussion with minor hockey, I know with minor baseball, they would not like, we'd like you not to go to that time because that gets into our tryouts. And then obviously that's all up in an air too, right? With baseball, but not saying that who knows how everything's going to work out. But I know that was always a discussion too, a couple of weeks ago, if I heard anything about minor hockey, if it was going to go on, and everything's still up in the air for all of us, right? So I would like to see hockey to go to April. I would like to see my boys play a little bit. I would love to see curling out, but sometimes you just got to move on. I was just curious on the ice because, lights are out and nothing's happening. So.
And I know, Ron, you've got a comment?
Well, I was just going to say, Mr. Chair, that the biggest issue here is we don't know how long this is going to go. So it's like treading water. Are you treading water for 28 days? Are you treading water for a month and a half? Are you going to tread water for 3 months? the longer you tread the water, the bill still keeps building. And if there's no opportunity, that's going to be the tough. That's going to be the tough one. We don't know right now how long this is going to go on for.
Yeah, that's
How
the
long-
thing.
Yeah.
When do you pull the plug?
Exactly.
Right.
And those are the important discussions that I've already begun having. And I think that's so the associations want to find out, like figure skating, hockey, they all want to find out like what their organization's members are feeling. And I think that's going to determine a lot.
Sorry, was there any other questions for Paul? Because we're going to go to Abby, right? Okay, Abby, are you there?
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Anyway, thank you, Paul, for talking about the ice. Moving forward, I'm looking a little bit longer term, looking into our spring and summer months. I've just completed our regular applications for summer grants, such as students and a couple mentor programming. So we need to look at what day camp is going to look like and the potential of our pool. Obviously, groups are going to be smaller, and as Ron said, we don't know how long it's going to go on for, and it's kind of unpredictable what the circumstances are going to be during that time. So I'm reviewing documents from last year since we didn't have a day camp, kind of gathering all the information that we didn't actually get to put forward ourselves. Hopefully going to be having a few meetings with the other recreation coordinators and supervisors within and outside of the county who did have camp and pool, just to kind of gather general information of how it went over. Thinking back to last summer, the kids didn't have the experience that they had within the school system this year. So last year might have been a little bit more chaotic for the day camps, where this year I'm kind of predicting that the kids are a little bit more used to sticking to one group, maybe a little bit more distancing is familiarized with them, and obviously wearing a mask. The pool is going to be a little bit of our struggle. Last year, Paul and I discussed that, so hopefully we'll be able to accept some guidance from the other leaders surrounding Lucan, and then we'll be able to have a good, healthy, positive summer. We are offering online Zumba by our instructor, Julie. And then we're also doing a couple of online different activities for the kids coming up. So that's kind of what we're working on, but high hopes and optimism for the summertime, that's for sure.
Thank you very much, Abby. Any questions and comments for Abby? Not hearing any. All right. Was there anything else from Paul and Abby on 5B? You guys good? Yep. You're okay, Abby?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay. We will move on to 5C, Heritage Diamond Ball Light Replacement. An update, Paul, that's you again.
Yeah, just a quick update for the group. I have discovered through LAS there is an incentive program. It wasn't the original one we were looking at, but I discussed with Christian Tham that there are some other opportunities. They do a whole project sourcing and everything for you. There's a form for me to fill out. I'm going to apply for it and look at it. My biggest concern for him, though, is that local electricians might not have the opportunity to apply for this work. Luckily, he confirmed that they do have the opportunity because, you know, right now it's a good time to support local. So I feel a lot more comfortable about that. You know, if the savings weren't fantastic, then I'd rather support local. So I'm glad that opportunity is there, and I'm going to be going forward with that. So hopefully bring some of that capital cost down.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Was there questions or comments for Paul on that one? All right, seeing none, we are going to go to item 6, roundtable discussion. Anybody? I don't have anything, but how about you guys? Nothing?
Oh, Dan, Peter.
Yes, Peter.
One thought when Paul talked about phase 2 earlier. One of the highlights of the review done by the external fundraiser was communication was an issue in phase 1. I just look at it, if we can somehow use this time, have a communications committee to set up a plan to talk to our residents when they're maybe locked in, or we have some time to call, touch base, and try to prepare us if we do get funding for phase 2. Everybody's aware of what's moving along, and we're ready to move in and roll to that phase. Just kind of a communication strategy to those folks. And I don't know if our committee gets involved in that, but it's always good to make a call and touch base with different members. I'm not sure if we've got a listing of names, maybe not, that we can't use, that we can use, or we can use, but that's another option from that review that was done.
All right. Okay. Sorry. Was there questions or comments with Peter? Is there anything else with that? Linda, did you have your hand up? No. All right. Okay. Thank you, Peter. Any other questions or comments on the roundtable discussion? No. We're good. Okay. We need to sort of set up our next meeting. We have a proposed date of February the 10th. And I'm just wondering how the group feels about that. Any objections, any concerns? Everybody pulls out their phones and they go,
We're still on lockdown. We should be good.
Yeah, we know we're not going anywhere until then. So.
I'm going to be sitting on a kitchen table teaching, practicing for Shakespeare in the Park. I'm going to do Hamlet, 4.5 hours. No, just kidding. Yeah. And I would too, but anyway, no, I'm just kidding. So February the 10th, 2021, how's everybody for that date?
Good.
Everybody good? I don't hear anybody can't make it. Okay, so we will go that, we will do that. Lisa has sent out an invitation. Thank you, Lisa. I just got that. Okay. Was there any other comments with that? So just need a motion from somebody to adjourn our Parks and Rec meeting. Let's not all put your hands up. Thank you, Keith, seconder. Thank you, Todd. Anybody opposed? We're good. Thank you much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I appreciate your support.
Thanks,
I appreciate your commitment. It's wonderful.